Today we're going to be discussing about Afrobeats. And we're going to be discussing about the journey, where it is and where it's going. Today I have some very interesting people with me. To my right is Excel Joab, who is a music exec. To his right is Onyekosola Fawoyimi, aka Foza Doza, who is a lawyer and a music exec. To her right is Osage Alunge, who is a media and marketing professional. To his right is Focus Ramon, who is a veteran sound engineer and music producer. My name is Motolani Alake. I'll be your moderator for the day. I'll be asking some questions, discussing with my guys, and hopefully you guys can get some feedback. Um, you guys can join the conversation on social media, hashtags Breed for It Summit and hashtag BFIS 2022. My first question is going to go to Osage Alonge. You have been in the media for a long time. How would you describe how Afrobeats got to this level?
It's a combination of a few things. Of course, the talent. So the amazing people who have been creating music. But you also have to look at the people who have also driven the culture and not just the music itself. So the music producers, the video directors, and the other people in the creative space who have collaborated with these artists to push, the culture basically. But everything has primarily been driven by technology. So once there's a new burst of technology, you see that the sound, the culture is further propagated. Um, I'll give you an example. Back in 1999, if an artist was to drop an album, he probably dropped it on a cassette tape, right? And could only circulate that cassette tape in his locality or his country at most. To put in context, Tony Tetwila sold 1 million copies of his second album, primarily in Nigeria. But today, if a Reminisce, for example, was to just drop, a single, I could be in Singapore and listen to it the very moment the song drops. So technology has been able to drive, the culture because more people can see it and experience it.
Thank you for that fantastic response. Very concise as well. Guys, we just got joined in the studio by a superstar recording artist, award-winning artist.
I've been around since. So.
Reminisce Alaga. How are you, Aga?
I'm fine, thank you. It feels great to be here with. I have history with almost everybody apart from. Well, we have history. We have mutual. We have a couple of mutuals. So I have history with almost everybody here. It feels good to sit here with everybody. Focus, Sasage. Everybody. Feels good to be here.
Feels good to see you as well. The next question is going to go to you. Interesting.
Okay.
What would you say is the role of artists in the entire journey of Afrobeats? How important have they been? What touch points have they put down in the history and the evolution of the genre?
Artists are primarily they are the drivers now. Artists are the drivers of the culture. You know what I mean? I think Afrobeats, I like to say Afrobeats as the vehicle, and we serve as the drivers. You drive, reach your own bus stop, you come down, another set of drivers come in, and you get so artists as drivers have, we've had different, generations, different people, different styles, different, you understand? So I think, well, people will continue. People don't start. You understand? Osage would, would be able to talk about this better because he has been documented. But some people have been driving since, the late 90s, and some people just begin to drive now. You understand? So I just like to say artists are the drivers of, the culture, Afrobeats being the vehicle. So at one point in time, driver go stop. But some driver no degree come out. Like Two-Face now, Baba does the driving trailer they go and sounds kind of peaceful. So some drivers no degree come out. Some drivers will just say, I'm going to drive this thing too, so so that's how I like to describe, the whole process here.
Thank you for the insights. You mentioned something interesting about like sound and the evolution of sound and how artists have been able to contribute to the journey. Focus Ramon, you're a producer and a sound engineer. You've been in the industry for a while. Could you give us a brief breakdown, a compact breakdown of how the sound has evolved, basically, and how producers have played a key role in the journey?
Long answer or short answer?
Semi-long.
Okay. So if the artists are the drivers, then producers, engineers are like the conductors.
I agree 1,000.
So, we work hand in hand, right? Every there's a sound. There's a sound. It's like different ingredients in the soup, right? So you have the artist doing his thing. The artist is obviously the face. People connect to a face, but people move to sound, like your body, right? Can move to the sound. So yeah, like I mean, things have gone. Everything has improved, to be honest. And I kind of feel like this might be controversial, but I kind of feel like the producers are very largely responsible for a lot of success that we have. Uh, no, wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be hot. Sorry to cut you short. You can join the conversation on social media. Hashtag Brief for His Summit. Hashtag BFI 2022. We can continue.
So this is why I think so. But I'm not undermining the role of the artist in any way. No. It's facts. We have, bro, production, right? That's the sound.
Yeah.
The sound is the sound determines it's like when you say disco, for instance, or you say makossa, or you say rap, hip hop, anything at all. You can kind of see the sound, right? When you talk about an artist, yes, there's many artists, but they fall within that pool, right?
Okay.
Now that pool is the sound, and producers create the sound. Engineers also are. Engineering is such an underrated. I wouldn't say underrated. Yeah, well, underrated. But engineering is such an underrated part of the process. But then again, I think it's as it should be, because like you use your iPhone, you don't see the engineers that are building and designing that. It's just for you to enjoy and use. But yeah, like I'm happy with where we are so far. Everybody's coming correct. That's one thing. Producers started coming correct earlier.
Okay. Osak, still speaking on the sound, right? You have a podcast, right? The Music in Time, where you go back in time and talk about the sounds and the music that defined where we are currently. If you were going to talk about the sounds that have impacted, right? If you were going to pinpoint them in time, what sounds would you point to? The genres, basically.
I think the most important genre that has inspired and influenced Afrobeats is hip hop. And that's because, and I'm talking about every kind of
Contemporary
sound
times.
right now. The contemporary sound, so from 1999, is largely hip hop, and that's because everybody was consuming hip hop in the 90s. We all grew up on hip hop.
Yeah.
So if you look at any of your artists from that era, right, they would naturally interpolate hip hop music with Nigerian music. So if it was Maintain, or if it was Black Reverence, or if it was Paul Play, any of the guys would take hip hop music and then remix it with Nigerian sounds, and that's how they were able to like push the music, right? So I think hip hop music is one of the biggest sounds that has inspired Afrobeats.
Man, thank you for that. Thank you for that fantastic response. I'm going to go to like the technocrats, our technocrats in the building. First, I'm going to go to Foza. So we talk about Afrobeats to the world a lot, but we can see the direct influence away from the sound, from the artists, like from the business side. How some form of finances, it's still not great, maybe not, but it's gotten better than where it was 10 years ago. How would you say the journey and the success of Afrobeats, or the increased success of Afrobeats, has impacted like the finance and the business and the dreams for like being able, from the perspective of being able to make the music, or like being able to put money in certain pockets?
First of all, I would like to say that it's so nice to see Reminisce in person, and it looks very fresh in person.
Oh, really?
Just
Wow.
all right, okay. So for the business part of things, I think things started really picking up for the hype started getting backed by money,
Yeah.
and real money,
Yeah.
like properly 7 years ago, and it's because structures. So when people come and say we have no structures, I always find that very annoying, because for you to make money, there's some form of structure. You can argue and say the structure is inefficient. You can say it's not
Dysfunctional.
effective, but there's a structure. So about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, many people, not just because management then really was just your close friend comes, gets on the road with you, learns on the job, and blah, blah, blah. But 8 years ago, we started seeing a wave of people from professional backgrounds becoming extremely interested in the industry. So you see lawyers, right? Directly from my own side is the lawyers. And it started like a spiral effect on things, and that led to us doing a lot of mathematics, being forced to have a lot of financial conversations. We all know like the background of money coming into the industry really was either through I'm trying to be politically correct today. Either through that kind of money. That was kind of
What kind of money, Foza? Do you want to?
What kind of money?
like it was
We
either
want
like
to learn.
it was like money laundering happening.
Money
Or
laundering,
like
yao, yao.
and so there
That
was
was very
really
specific here.
yeah. So there was really
Yes.
no accountability going on. So we weren't focused on making profit as an industry, right? So now we have a lot of business people in the industry now trying to get to the economics, trying to figure out what the economic unit is, how does it translate from cost to revenue to profit. One of the biggest problems we find is that we incur so much cost as an industry and we're not figuring out like profit. So you see, I think about 5 years ago, the real wave for what we have now, where you see some people are signing for one song, you're seeing $100,000 deal, is because one company, which was led by a group of business people, built that company to the extent that they were able to raise 20 million. And that spiraled, like everybody came in and was like, oh, if these people are raising 20 million to work in Africa, in Nigeria, then there's something to look at. If you look at it after then, we had Sony around, we had some other people around, but it was just, they were trying to figure out what was going on. So basically what they were doing, it was just like shell companies. That's what I would define it as. But when that company raised that money, every other person came in and was like, all right, it's time to focus. And I was reading the IFPI reports yesterday.
Yeah.
The recorded industry for Africa has grown by 9.7% growth, which is like the largest growth we've seen in 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're beginning to enter into conversations in the market because the biggest problem then was there's this hype, but there's no money being made on the continent.
Generation.
Yeah, on the continent. So people are shelling in money and everybody's stopping and saying, but I'm not seeing my money back. So there's this success, but the money is not making sense. But now with that report we read yesterday, is amazing. And for me, the next 5 years is also going to be amazing because publishing is about to take off significantly, as in doing it properly, not the fake things we're doing right now.
Yikes.
But like doing it properly, and that's really like the reservoir pension for creatives. And the stakeholders are getting richer. We thank God.
I picked up 4 points from what you said. That was a very robust answer. One, that there's a structure. Number two, that a structure is working. Number three, the industry is growing. Number four, publishing. I'm going to come back to some of those things that you raised. Excel, I'm going to go to you. She spoke about publishing, and publishing now, basically, you can't have some size of publishing without something that we call music streaming. How would you describe the role of music streaming in the contemporary time, say over the past 7 years in the Nigerian music industry?
7 years.
Yeah.
It has improved. It has improved. We've seen a lot of improvements. We've come from a place where we used to holla online and be like, please stream the music, don't download from a
Shout out to the
blog. To
Shout out to Foza Doza.
to now everybody waking up and people saying, oh, I have the number one album on this, on this platform. An artist, Black Bones, literally had a campaign where he was
Stream
like,
Haba.
stream Haba. Like the stream was there. He consciously passed a message to the audience that any other thing you do, download it doesn't help me. Stream it. So the streaming culture has greatly improved. There are a lot of factors that have aided this, the rise of internet culture. Nigeria also has a very young population.
Yeah.
So that's helping a lot. There was also conscious efforts. I've always credited people in the alter scene.
Yeah.
That, when they came up, they had this whole SoundCloud movement they were doing. And that kind of made a lot of people. I saw traditional Nigerian blogs, right, putting SoundCloud links.
Yeah, that was very
on
interesting at the time.
their blogs, and that was because these alter kids were popping so hard. Like, it was like blogger, you need clicks.
Yeah.
So if someone is popping, you just gotta be there. There's no excuse. So, streaming has greatly improved. We're seeing some ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous numbers on
Foza. Foza.
We're seeing some ridiculous numbers, and we're also seeing like a lot of engagements. Even the DSPs themselves have, shout out to them, they've done their best to also put money in this market, support artists both digitally and offline.
Yeah.
So we've seen progress.
This year, I believe, like globally, there was a spike in the amount of physical sales of CDs across the world, right? So it's not just streaming anymore. We're talking about the fact that the music itself is growing. Nigerian artists, they are selling vinyls now. It's a thing. It's becoming a thing. It's becoming a culture. Shout out to Excel for opening that. So my next question is going to go to Remedies. We are talking about why the space is growing, the ecosystem is growing. But what is it? What makes the thing? Why is everybody so interested in it? Why is it such a hot commodity right now? Why?
First off, because like she mentioned earlier, returns. I think I kind of understand the era she was talking about when there was a lot of noise and, these guys would ask, what's going on in Africa? Like, there's noise, but you should jade. You understand? But right now, I mean, like, be like, the whole industry don't call it advanced as it be now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that includes yours faithfully, yeah.
Come on.
So
Talking about
so and it feels great. And apart from getting this, it's not a privilege. It's your stuff actually. It's just you being handed your stuff. Up front. So I try to tell young kids that don't see this as a gift. You have to work for it. You have to see it as a loan that you have to pay back. And as quickly as you can as well. You understand? So you can move on to the next, whatever you have to do. It's just something, you just have finances you need to, you are supposed to use to, do certain things that you wouldn't be able to do normally, as an independent artist. So, I mean, it feels great now that these guys are coming in and pumping in money. And of course, money is the
driving
now
force.
at least, before it used to be like 90% your own money, 10%, whatever. So 90% of the industry before, of the videos we see for TV, they're not looking for returns. That's that's the honest, that's the fact here.
Yeah.
I don't know if all of us are willing to admit.
That's
yeah.
it's a fact.
Like 90% of the videos you see on TV, we know, all of us here know they're not looking for returns. It's just a means of,
Promotional-
dry cleaning
promotional
and all that, washing. So now I think it has, with these guys coming in, I think it has increased to like 30% now. I think I'll be 30 and seeing like 30 genuine, people trying to do business. But there's still 70 that is there's still 70, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's in the people we are trying to be like as well.
Bro,
It's there.
even theirs is not.
It's way worse.
so, I mean-
It's in their system as well. It's even good for the ecosystem because some of us will like to collect our money for features and all that. So it's good. You understand? For the ecosystem, it's good. There has to be a balance, but I think that we still need the genuine guys to get to like 50%, when there's like a proper balance, 50 Sarah, 50, then good.
I love it.
My next question was going to go to Focus, but Foza was about to raise an objection to one of Excel's point the other time. Is it a problem that a bunch of the streams for the most successful Nigerian songs are not coming from here, or the healthiest amount of revenue that Nigerian artists are getting, they are not coming from here in a country of 200 million people? Is it a problem? Because, sorry, before you answer, when you consider like other developing parts of the world where maybe YouTube is growing because of Latin America, for example, or in India, for example, or in the Middle East, where like a music streaming platform is really, really popping off. I don't want to mention the music streaming platform here. Is it a problem?
So let me give you an example. I have this album we created like 7 years ago that, none of the artists have blown yet, but that album was doing $300 every other quarter. So I'm having generator money and stuff. That's why I just woke up last month or last week, and I was like, $1. What happened? And I went to check. They switched off, there's a lot of the platforms switched off from Russia. My highest stream was coming from Russia. There was just one YouTube guy that was using one song from the album, and that was what was making money. So for me, in that moment, it flashed before my eyes that what was still at the mercy of the world. And it's we pray it gets better, but the getting better, the GDP is not our responsibility as an industry to fix. So which is an external threat to us. Now, if that doesn't get fixed, we are still at the mercy of the world. So we can have. So me personally, that 200 million of phone, I used to feel like it's not a right number. It's just a political number.
It actually is. I'm going to let you finish. I have some.
I sometimes still use a political number, but if you see us as an industry, we're not even tapping up to 1% of that 200 million. And for me, it's always a problem because I'm one of those people that God has said you are not going to leave this country. You are going to make all your money here. So we don't have any choice but we're not jackpotting. So every day I look at it and say, hey, God, when is this going to get better?
Make I follow.
The GDP of the country has to get better for things like the streaming in here. If not, so we still have another 10 years before we get there to say an artist comfortable that is big in the Southeast and only the Southeastern people stream and is comfortable with that to earn money from. Now, those people that are big in the Southeast and make money from the Southeast are those that do live performances there. So, they're leaving. But until we get to that point, my dream is that, as an industry, we get to the point where you don't have to be the number one artist in the country for you to be making.
Thank you very much.
I'm not thinking that you want to go and, you want to go and clean somewhere 9 to 5, then go and do music. That's my dream. That you have a healthy catalog and just do the thing you love and make a per capita living, and that depends on the GDP as Africa itself. So that's that one. So we are going to keep doing our work and pray that the leaders do right.
We're going to come back to the issue of the leaders. Reminisce, did she answer the question? Ada?
Yes, she did. I was also going to add that you see this whole streaming thing. There's a lot that we tend to get wrong, and I want to address this. I've always wanted to say this. We measure these things too much by just 2 platforms, and I think it is very, very unfair. It is very, very unfair, very elitist. Not to concern me, I'm a beneficiary of all. I'm a beneficiary of all systems, from the old school CD era to this era. I'm still top 10 in at 41. I'm cool, bro. I'm cool.
Cool
cat. I'm fine. You understand? But we tend to measure these things by just 2 platforms. You understand? I don't know if it's cool to mention names. I don't know if it's cool. Is it cool to mention names? Streaming platforms?
As your brand.
Streaming platforms. No, I'm going to talk streaming platforms.
Yeah.
You understand? Now, say you measure, you say, you're number 1 on Apple Music. Okay, I'll give you an example. I have a song out at the moment now. This song on one platform, on 2 platforms, 5 million, 4.1 million. On Spotify, it's 412,000. So how do you judge that? On Apple Music, it's over 4 million. On Spotify, it's 412,000. So how do you judge that? So if you judge me on Spotify, I'm not successful. But if you go to Apple Music, I'm hot. If you go to Audio Mac, I'm hot. You understand? So you can't, we tend to, you say, once you're on Apple Music. So what about Boomplay? You understand? What about these other platforms? How do you, YouTube Music? There has to be, you guys, you especially, you and Excel, you need to come up with a way to, measure these things accurately. And, there has to be a balance. You can't measure an artist's success on 1 or 2 platforms and say, because you're number 1 this week on this number 1, so which means you have the big, come on, bro. The difference, let me even break this thing now. The difference between these people, I have time, well, I'm unemployed. I'm unemployed. I'm daddy daycare, so I'm unemployed. I have time. The point is, if you have a number one song now, your song is number one on
Yeah.
whatever platform. You're probably doing 200,000 streams a day. I'm number 7. I'm doing 192,000 streams a day. It's just 6,000 streams difference. But a lot of people don't understand this. It's not, it's not so much. So at the end of the day, we need to start measuring. I mean, Osagi, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We need to
Start stressing more
Yeah.
importance around
More imp-
not
yeah.
tie them to chatting.
Yeah. And even if you're going to tie them to chatting is fine, of course.
Yeah,
Now,
put,
bragging
put,
rights.
put more context to it.
Yeah, not just one platform, 2 platforms, 1 platform, 2 platforms, and some people have. Okay, I've been doing a study as well. There are some songs that are big now, Nigerian songs that are big globally. You hear the Spotify 62 million. Yeah. You go to Apple Music, it's less than 4 million. You know, Kilo Nana Biba. I don't know if you get me.
I do.
Right?
I do.
So we need to, we need to look for better ways to, to measure